Welcome, welcome everyone. How are you? My name is Nozomi Morgan. I'm the CEO of Michiki Morgan Worldwide, and it's wonderful to be here today. We have a very short amount of time, so I'm going to speak as fast as I can. No, I'm very kidding. I'm going to make sure we have a great time today. But I'd love to start to see where everyone's joining in from today. So enter in the chat box. You can just let us know where you're coming from today. Thank you, Lori. I see you're joining in from Canton. Oh, look, I see Delaware, DC. This is amazing. Chattanooga, where else? Connecticut, Atlanta, Savannah, Decula, Athens. This is great. This is really exciting. This is one of the things that we've been noticing since we went virtual, is that we've been able to really all over the country, and even sometimes today at it's the middle of the day in Eastern time, but when we have webinars and seminars in the evenings and the mornings, we also are able to have people from Japan. So it's been really exciting. Yeah, keep it coming. Oh, I see someone from Smyrna. That's actually really close to where I live, so it's great to see that. So welcome, welcome. The next question is, I'm really curious, what drew you to this topic? What made you say, hey, I want to register and attend this webinar today? You can enter that into the chat box as well. Why are you here? Everyone is seeking their Ikigai. Thank you for that, Alexandria. Faith says, I'm curious. Interesting subject, Lori. Carolyn says, the pandemic has us all going stir crazy. Yes, I think so too. Wonderful. I see a lot of curiosity. Need help feeling peace. Always looking for joy. I'm feeling lost. Yeah. I bet. Oh, Cassandra, thank you, because I'm doing it. Oh, I so appreciate that. Thank you so much. Wonderful, wonderful. And Dawn says, just learned about Ikigai last week and want to know more for clarity. Wonderful. Great. And Bob says, love Japanese philosophy of peace. Great. So I have a sense today we have people just heard about Ikigai, but last week, or maybe just when they saw the flyer about Ikigai, and from some folks that really know Ikigai very well, has studied it, have been to Japan or had the opportunity to study on their own. So we have a wide variety of people, and with a limited time. So I just wanted to let you know we are going to explore the definition, and I'll also talk a little bit about the history of Ikigai, the modern Ikigai concept of Ikigai, and then we'll talk a little bit about the myths around Ikigai. There's some misconceptions, the movie Lost in Translation, from when the concept of it in Japan, and then when it got basically brought over to the West, not necessarily the US, but the West, there's some lost in translation that happened. So I want to share the differences. It's not about right or wrong. It's just like sushi, right? The sushi in Japan, the traditional Japanese sushi does not include California rolls. So it's kind of like that. It's not right or wrong. It's just a little bit different. But I want to share with you those three, especially the three ones that really I see are the biggest myths. I'll share about that. And also, because we only have a limited time together, and I'm sure a lot of you, especially the folks that shared that you are looking for peace, really in this time of chaos and uncertainty. If you want to go deeper, I wanted to also share an opportunity to work with me and work with my team on going deeper on Ikigai and this topic. Okay, wonderful. So let's get started. So, who have seen this Venn diagram before? Yes, no in the chat box. Have you seen this before? Yes, no, yes. Okay. Yes, Shirley, that's very true. There's been many versions of this, but the content itself usually is more or less the same. It's just different designs and different colors and all that. So this is actually, I feel like it's like half and half. Maybe there's a little bit more yeses than nos. So this is the concept that I've seen the most, and especially in the past couple of years. So we're going to talk a lot about this. And going back to, and I think the reason why I mean, that came out around 2016. So like I said, the past couple of years, I think the reason why it's really, we're hearing it more and more about Ikigai right now is especially because the pandemic, the unrest that's happening in the US, there's so much stress. I don't know if any of you relate to this little, what do you call it? Meme here that says, I'm so stressed out over being stressed out that I can't even remember why I'm stressed out, and it's so stressing me out. If you relate to this, if you have ever felt like this, if you want to put in the chat box, yes, no, how you're feeling. But I think a lot of us, if you realize it or not, we're actually under a lot of stress. There's so much going on, so much things that we don't have answers for. Just again, that uncertainty is really putting us really on the edge. And the concept of Ikigai has just become more and more important. Yeah, so the ambiguity and everything. So the question, right now that I think a lot of us have is like, with the ambiguity, the uncertainty that we have, how do we create more time and energy to better navigate through this uncertain world that we are in today, right? Because it really sucks a lot of our energy out. And I mean, just with all the, really sad and upsetting events that are going on, I think with anger, with sadness, that is a lot of energy that really are zapped out of us. And so the question is, how do we create more so that we can navigate through this, so we can be resilient, so we can overcome a lot of this hardship that we're feeling? And that's where the answer, or one of the hints is Ikigai. And this, for those who know Japanese, this is Ikigai in Japanese, but for those who are not, this is just using the Japanese calligraphy and sharing how Ikigai is written out in Japanese. So Ikigai is actually 2 parts. Iki, the first part, means to live, and gai could be thought as like the results or the output. So it's basically 2 words together. And in Japanese, they can write it in different ways, but this is the most common form that I see right now in the past, I should say, 10 or so years. So how do you pronounce it? So as you've been hearing Ikigai, and I know sometimes I saw someone really funny TEDx video that says it's not a ikigai, like a iki person, like a yiki person, it's Ikigai. So that's like a good way to remember it. I don't know if that's if you want to look at its TEDx video from, I think his name was Ted Tamashiro-san. He's out of Canada, and he was a great performer and said that. But the definition, if I would say just like a dictionary definition, would be a reason for being, or a reason for living, a meaning for life, or what makes life worth living. And I've also seen definitions as the reason for which you wake up in the morning. But the challenge is there's not a perfect translation, a word in English, as you can see. It's more of a concept than exact word. It's really difficult to say exactly what it is in English. And I just wanted to share with you, so when and how did I come across Ikigai? So for me, the first time I think really became aware of it or heard of the word, I mean, we say it pretty casually in Japanese, but was when I saw in my family's bookshelf, there was a book called Ikigai ni Tsuite by Kamiya Miyako sensei, Dr. Miyako Kamiya. And that was the first time for me that I really looked and thought of Ikigai as something to really study. And by the way, this picture is me and my family when I was very young. So, and this is the book, the picture of the book. This is the exact book that we had in our bookshelf. It was published in 1966 by Miyako Kamiya sensei, so Dr. Miyako Kamiya. And she was a psychiatrist. She was a Japanese psychiatrist, very rare and few in back in the days of female psychiatrist or doctor. And she lived abroad. She has lived, so she was multilingual and very well educated. And she treated leprosy patients at Nagashima Isen Sanatorium. And that's where this book actually comes from. You know, she was really looking, oh, by the way, Ikigai ni tsuite, what it means, the English name would be on the meaning of life. And so she was, you know, as she was treating these patients, working with these patients, she found, you know, the patients that have lost their eyesight, still looking outside, feeling the breeze, and writing haikus. Or she met patients, again, who didn't have eyesight, have lost their fingers, and was still trying to read Braille tenji, Braille books with their lips, but their lips are already bleeding, but they still had that strong will to live. And she really wanted to understand when people are, even with people at that darkest place in their life or in the hardest time, and in a place that is so easy to lose faith and hope, like how do they overcome? Where does that strength, where does that power, strength come from? Where does that hope and faith come from? And that's what really is where she started to bring together this concept, or she really studied and explored in her own way. And I think there, and actually just the backstory of this, the reason why this book was in our family bookshelf was because actually she taught at the university that my mother went to. So so that's the way, you know, that book was in our bookshelf, became part of our collection. And I wanted to share with you here, so Dr. Miyoko Kamiya's definition of Ikigai. So she said Ikigai means two things. One is the object itself as a source of Ikigai. So what I mean by that is, for example, you can say my child is my Ikigai. So that refers to the source, the child, right? Or because of the target of my Ikigai. And then the second definition will be the state of mind of when one is feeling Ikigai, so associated to the source. And she will call that Ikigai kan. And kan means feeling or awareness. So, so those are the definitions that Dr. Kamiya has the way she defined Ikigai. And then she also talked about then when you think about what is my Ikigai, like, and then she said there's two questions that you would ask. And the first one would be, what is my existence for? I think I would also call this like, why am I here? And then asking yourself, is it for someone else? Am I here for someone? So, or in other words, what is the purpose of my existence? So that's the first group of questions to really think about that. And I, you know, as I'm sharing this with you, I also want you to kind of think about this on your own of, you know, like when's the last time when you thought about what is your existence? Why am I here? What is my purpose? If you're open to share in the chat box, when do you think the last time was that you thought about that? Was it this morning? Was it last night before you went to bed? Or it could have been a year ago, or it could have been never, like you never had the chance to think about this in your life. Love to hear. Oh, someone's yesterday. Oh, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You know, this is a huge question, really. It's every day. Wonderful, that's beautiful, thank you. And this morning, yeah, that's amazing. You know, it's, for some people, it could be something you're asking all the time. For a lot of us, especially in this busy world, when there's so many priorities, so many tasks, so many people that are really asking for your attention, like your children, your job, your parents, your friends, the community, I mean, the world. So it's very difficult. Sometimes we we don't take that time to really think about these big questions that are so important, that, you know, really the fundamental to our own existence, and asking these questions. So that's the first question that Dr. Kamiya says, or to really find your Ikigai, to think about what is your Ikigai. And the second one is, am I faithful to it? Or you can also say, is my life aligned to it? And that's more of, I think, a modern way to say this is, so really, are you living the life that is aligned with your Ikigai? So for folks out there, what do you think? If you would to know what your Ikigai is, are you living faithful to it? Are you really living your life, living your Ikigai every day, every second, every moment that you're awake? And then she talks about Ikigai is felt the most when what a person wants to do is also what they spend the most of their time and energy on, right? So you can feel, basically, you know, really going back to aligning your life all 360 with what your Ikigai is. And when the Ikigai is in line with their true nature, so is it really aligned with you, who you really are? So a lot of us, and this is my own experience as well, we think we know who we are. We think we're on a path that's for us, but actually subconsciously, or by a lot of cultural conditioning, you're on a path that you just think is right for you. I call that the should path. This is what we should be doing. For example, something that I struggled with, I had a 15-year corporate career, a really good one, but that was a should path. I thought I should have a good corporate career. I should do this, I should do that. But it didn't really align with the true nature of who I am, who Nozomi really is. So it was really hard. Towards the end, I really got burned out from trying so hard to be in that should world, and really it was eating my soul from the inside. And then lastly, so she said Ikigai is felt the most when your life is aligned with your Ikigai, right? So everything that we've been talking, it always comes back to that. And then, so what happens when your life isn't aligned with your Ikigai? So what happens is, it negatively impacts, like, basically all areas of your life, your health and well-being. For example, you eat too much, drink too much, some addictions, like you do, like shopping addiction, alcohol addiction. There's so many addictions that we can talk about. It might impact your relationship because you're so unhappy, or you choose to be with people that's not right for you at that time. It will impact your leisure and fun. You're just not a fun person to be around with, probably, but also you don't make time, or you can't create time because you're doing things that are not aligned with you. So you're spending time on things that are not fun for you. And a lot of times it could impact your spirituality, that you're just losing faith, losing hope, not knowing what to believe in. With that, it also impacts your career, right? Like you're not doing as well as you thought you would do. And I see this a lot with mid-career professionals, that when they're younger, when you're right out of, for example, out of college, you're really excited about your new job, you're doing well, but at some point you find some of your colleagues just, their career takes off, and you're kind of stuck in that rut, and you don't really know what to do, but you're not excited about your job anymore either. So it's really impacting your confidence. You're not getting promoted, or you're not performing at the way that you want to. So I see that in career, which also could lead easily also to your negative impacting your finances. So you're not making as much money as you want to, or you're making really bad financial choices because you're not really thinking clear, or you don't know how to make the decisions. And then also it could be your environment. Like one thing you can see when I talk about environment is you're surrounded by clutter. I can't show you how my office looks right now, but I'm guilty of this too. When my life is not really aligned, I can see it in clutter. I have too much stuff. I surround myself with too much, or I hold on to things that I don't need anymore. So I would love to see, for you, when you think that your life is not aligned with your Ikigai, where do you think it would impact you the most? I see Trona mention health and well-being here. If anyone else, if you're open to share, where do you think it will impact you the most, or where has it impacted you the most? For me, it was the career and also health. When I was really, burnout in my corporate career, physically, I felt numb on my left hand side, and my neck hurt so badly, I couldn't turn when I was driving. So I couldn't change. It was really hard to change lanes because I couldn't see. And that's when I really knew physically it's really impacting. Oh, I see spirituality, health, career, environment. So when you do live your life aligned with your Ikigai, so what happens then? Well, it's the complete opposite of what we just said, right? It will be, you'll have more time. And today we don't have enough time to talk about time, but time is a really relevant thing, right? When you're doing something fun, time flies. But when you're doing something that you don't enjoy, it feels forever. So when we say we have more time, it's because you're doing something that you enjoy more, so you feel like you have more time. You'll have more energy, you have more fun, you'll be more fun, you'll be more effective at work or whatever what you're doing. You'll likely make more money because you'll do better at work or in your career. You'll have better relationships, you'll be a better leader, you'll show up better at your home and at work. You'll have better financial situations, you'll have better health, and your living environment could be better. There's so many positives that comes out when you're aligned truly to your nature and truly to who you are and really what you're meant to do. Yeah, I would love, I don't know if you can see the pictures of the couple on the beach. Since the COVID, we haven't been able to travel, so I have not seen water like that since, I don't know, for so long. So I would love to be there. That would be wonderful. So I wanted to share with you an assessment that we use with our clients, and I would love to share with you today is the 7 area of life assessment. So this is so you can see where you are today and where you want to be. ichigomorgan.com/JapanFest2020/. So I want all of you to copy and paste this, and then it will take you to an assessment. And then it just takes a couple of minutes. So I'd love you to do that right now. It will send you an email with a profile with the results. So that's a great place to just start to see where you are and where you want to be. So next, so again, going back to, so this is the Venn diagram that we see a lot. But there's little problems in this Venn diagram. So actually, this is a typical example of that the lost in translation part. There's a couple areas that are not actually what Ikigai really is. So I want to talk a little bit about that in the remaining time we have. But before that, I want to talk to you a little bit then, how did Ikigai come to be known in the Western world? And I think it really was started out with Dan Buettner's book, The Blue Zones, when he studied the 6 blue zones, where they have the people that live the longest, and there was 6 areas of that, and so it was these 6 areas, and one was Okinawa in Japan. I think that's the first when a lot of people heard about this and heard about Ikigai. And then in 2016, this book by Hector Garcia and Francis Morales came out. And this was a New York bestseller. And inside this book, they talked about the 10 rules of Ikigai. And they studied, they interviewed the people in those blue zones, but especially they spend a lot of time in Okinawa in a village called Ogimi. And they found the commonalities and have put together these 10 rules of Ikigai. And I think these are wonderful. And there's so much you can learn from it. A lot of them are really, it's everything you can do without, you don't have to pay anything, you don't have to change anything. You can do this like right now. But if you can look at this at number 10, it says follow your Ikigai. If you don't know it, then discover it. It lies within you. So that, which I feel like is a little bit irresponsible, because actually it talks about the 10 rules of Ikigai, yet at the very last one is telling you if you don't know what it is, you just have to go find it on your own. So it's really interesting. At the end of the day, it always comes back to you, which also means there's no quick trick or quick way to figure out your Ikigai. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. So in the book, and actually I have it right in front of me, inside the book, there's a Venn diagram that you saw earlier. And this is exactly the one that they use. But like I said, there's a little problem in it. So I first want to share with you this video. So about Okinawa, this is actually a commercial from Nestle, and they made a beautiful commercial about Ikigai, and it has a lot of great essence. So I'd like to share this with you.
沖縄には生きがいという言葉があります。毎朝起きる原動力を与えてくれるものだと思います。
目覚まし本当に遠くに投げ捨てようかなと思う時もあるんだけど、我慢して自分のお尻に鞭を打って起きて走りに行きます。
踊りの流舞道場に通っている生徒たちの成長を見るために。
そうですね、私の生きがいは、いつも馬に会いに行くために、仕事ををしに行きながら、責任を持って人と馬とも接していっていますね。
お客さんがね、喜んでもらえたら一番嬉しいんだけど、
いや、自分には兄弟もいないし、この孫たちがたくさんいて、たまには孫たちが寄ってくるさね。もう本当これが生きがいである。
世界チャンピオンになりたいんだと、俺はなるんだって、家族のために、チームのために、自分自身のために、ということが生きがいですね。
家族があったり友達がいたりいて、みんなに助けられてこいつのために助けたいとか、それを苦にも思わずできたり、仕事も目標があってそれに対しての勉強や努力は全然疲れない、苦にならない現状のことじゃないですかね。一日楽しむために起きてます。
沖縄では、ハッピー毎日が、幸せであればそれで生きがい。
I really want you to think about what were their Ikigai when they talked about it. What did you see? There was a lot of different people, everyday people in there. And that's one thing I really want to point out, is that Ikigai does not have to be something huge, like changing the world, or you want to be like a CEO of a company, or you want to say, solve world peace or world health. That's not what Ikigai is. It could be, but that's not what it is. And I also want you to think about, in your own time, what did you take away from this video? And, since we shared the link, on your own time, watch this again and really think, like, what thoughts come up, what feelings come up. And maybe that will be something you can journal, today or tomorrow, over this weekend, or journal a little bit every day. Again, because this is not something that quickly the answer comes. It takes time. And then also I want you to think about, as we shared before, Ikigai, there's not a clear definition. It's not like a strong, it has to be this. So really think about, what do you think Ikigai is for you? What does that mean for you? Okay, so in the video, just going back to, they talked about what they love, and they sort of talked about maybe what they're good at. But they didn't necessarily talk about what they're paid for, and they didn't talk about what the world needs, So those are, definitely things that are myths or misperceptions, misunderstandings, when, like the lost in translation from Japan, when it came from the original idea of what Ikigai is to when it came to the US or to the West. I think they just basically replaced the word purpose to Ikigai, which again is not necessary. It's not one-to-one. That's not just what it is. So I just want you to remember, just because it's in the book does not mean this is true Ikigai. I mean, again, it could be different interpretations, but if we really go with the core, Ikigai is really about your personal values, really who you are, and it's not about what you can be paid for. It's not about what the world needs. It's really about who you are. And we have 3 misperceptions about Ikigai in the West that I've laid out here. If we had a little more time, I'll go deeper, but I'm gonna go really quickly into this. So like I say, guys, what you can be paid for, that's not true. It's not about money. And it doesn't even have to be necessarily about your work. Like the examples that you saw in the video too, wasn't all work, but also Ikigai could be your child, it could be your family, it could be your community. So it doesn't have to be money or doesn't have to be work. Myth number 2, Ikigai is what the world needs from you. Like I just said, it comes from really within you, okay? It's not about what the world needs. So it's different from when you're looking for a job a lot of times, or I remember when we were choosing college majors, a lot of like my friends would be like, oh, I'm gonna major in something that I can get a job. So I could see friends going into accounting or like econ majors, and they were more like artists, like artists and creative, and they actually hated it, but from the pressure from the parents or the society, and felt like they had to major in something that would make money or they can get a job. I remember in my time, we were always taught if you majored in like English literature, you'll never get a job. So again, it's not what the world needs or what the world will give you. It's really, it has to come from within you. And Ikigai, a lot of times people think it can only be one thing and it can't change. So once you've decided what your Ikigai is, you have to stick to it. And that's not true either. As we are all growing every day, every single day we grow. As every time we breathe, we grow and evolve. So it's not restricted to just one thing, and it can change as you grow as well. So don't think just because you decided on one thing and you wrote it down that you can't change it. It's something more fluid and flexible. It's more organic. And this is, so after all your research and study and working with clients all these years, what I've really realized, or the conclusion I came to what Ikigai is that Ikigai is what each day each of us essentially lives for, and through that process allows one's brilliance to blossom. So it's how we live every day, and also it allows us to really be us, be you. And by being you, that brilliance that's inside of you, that uniqueness that you have, blossoms. And there's 5 pillars to live an Ikigai life and create more time and energy. And this actually comes a lot from Ken Mogi's book. He's a neuroscientist in Japan, really famous neuroscientist. He's an author, TV commentator. So, he has these 5 pillars in his book, and it comes from here. And today we don't have the time to go through it, but I just wanted to quickly introduce you to that. And then in my work with my clients, we have a framework that we use, and there's 3 phases to blossoming into really your Ikigai life. And the first phase is awaken, and that's really to really figure out who you are. And then phase 2 is visioning, and like what life you want to live, who really, how do you want to show up in this world? And phase 3 is aligning every element of your life to who you are and to your Ikigai. So this is phase 1. And the reason, for me, like that work, what came out from the Awaken for me was that I really believe when it comes to what I believe, my personal values and what I believe in, is that I believe, when each of us shine our beautiful light, bright lights on this world will be a better place. And that's what I fully believe. And that's why I decided to leave my corporate career and start my own company and do the work that I do. It comes from this. So everything I do within my life, it might not look like there's a direct link, but it always comes from this belief. So every day, some people might think it's cheesy, but seriously, in all seriousness, every day when I wake up, I really look forward to each day, each interaction I have with someone, because I know that there's something that I can do. And it's every book that I read, every paper that I write, it all comes from this place that I really want to help people to shine, because I know I can't change the world all by myself, but I can help each of us to shine brighter. And the first step to really finding your Ikigai is to accepting yourself and knowing yourself. And some things I really recommend to my clients is to start journaling, because writing it out, thinking is great, but really writing it out, and not using like your phone or your laptop, but really writing it old school with your pen and paper has a different effect to your brain. So these are just some questions you can think about as you do that. And you don't have to write like an essay or anything, but just questions to ponder, questions to think about. So I'd really recommend to take that time if you haven't for a long time. Lastly, this is what how Ken Mogi looks like, and he says, make the joy of little things work for you. Then you can also start your Ikigai in the morning. So really, Ikigai, once you know what that is, even if you're not 100% sure, again, it's a journey. But when you have that intention, when you set the intention, everything can be joyful. You can find joy in the smallest things. It could be just in like how your office is laid out, or how neatly your fridge is organized. It could be anything. There's so many small things that you can find joy in, and that's what Ikigai is about. It's not about one big thing. It's about a lot of little things in your life. So lastly, going back to, we talked a lot about Ikigai, but I think the question still remains, like, how do I find my Ikigai? And again, Ken Mogi says, you need to find your Ikigai in little things, and you have to find it in your own way. But I know that's difficult. That's not easy to do. So if you are a mid-career professional feeling stuck, burnt out, dissatisfied where you are, or just not sure, I really want to invite you to work with us if you want to have guidance around this, if you really are ready to blossom and contribute to this world in your own unique way. We have a new program that we're starting in November. So if you're interested, there's this link down here. There's a link to learn more. It's an application form for you to fill out, so we can see if you're a good fit for the program. And then if you are, then we'll be happy to talk to you and share more about the details. So if you are ready, if you want some guidance and help around really finding who you are, finding your brilliance, finding your Ikigai, this program will be something that will start in November. Last message I have for you is, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take that first step. So wherever you are, just take that first step, as Martin Luther King Jr. said. I think this is such a great lesson for all of us. And that would be my message to all of you. Don't just stay. Whatever it is, take the smallest step that you can, because that step is better than staying where you were. So thank you so much. I know it was a little bit of a rush today, but if you, I would love, this is a topic that is near and dear to my heart, and I love talking about. So if you want to connect, this is my information. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or send me an email. If there's any resources that you need, if any of the links that you didn't get and you want, if you need, please feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to talk more. Bye.